It's delightful to be able to call Muhammadu Bawumia the MPP presidential candidate, isn't it? Sometimes it's very delightful. We used to say that presidential hopeful, hopefully he wins, but now we can comfortably say Muhammadu Bawumia, the MPP presidential candidate. Okay. He's going to choose a running mate, isn't he? He's going to choose a running mate. He's going to choose between this and that and her and she and him and all of that. Some MPs from Ashanti, people have started campaign, etc., etc. Bawumia is going to choose a running mate. But can he choose Nana Akufo Addo to be his running mate? Nana Akufo Addo is president. Can he choose a former president to be his running mate? We've seen the story in other places, and we'll be talking about it in Argentina and other places where this has happened. But let me come to the lawyer, Apriku. What do we have?
Okay, so generally, it depends. In fact, it is not a very clear area in the sense that it has not been expressly stated or delineated in the Constitution that this cannot happen. The main prohibition that is placed on a former president is provided for in Article 68, Clause 2.
Let me read that.
Okay.
The president shall not, on leaving office as president, hold any office of profit or emolument, except with the permission of Parliament. Oh, it's getting more interesting. In any establishment, either directly or indirectly, other than, oh wow, it even gets more interesting.
So that's
other than the state.
The states.
So with the state, it's okay.
Yes, possibly.
But this position we are talking about, running mate, will be with the state.
With the states. And so that is where...
But he'll be taking emoluments.
That is where, it is cumulative.
No, but it's quite clear. It says other than the state. So with the state, I think what they were thinking about was when the former president is to be consulted or given a role to play.
Yeah, or private business, because it is possible he may use his name as an avenue to...
I mean, that's what they were prohibiting.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at what they were allowing, what they were permitting, is suggesting to me that they are thinking that the former president can be called, there's Dagon crisis, can be called by the government and say, go and do that.
Yes.
And he will be paid for that.
Possibly, because...
So that's what I think they were trying to exempt here.
Flight Lieutenant Rawlings was instrumental. He was the state's official government envoy in courting African support for the AFTA Secretariat.
Yes. So something like that.
Yeah, something
there will
like
be some emoluments in there.
Obviously.
So that's what they were trying to exempt. But in doing so, they have now allowed us to poke the question whether he can be running mates. It looks like he can. So what else would you tell us?
So generally, the problem is the president is restricted to 2 terms. Now, if he's restricted to 2 terms, he or she is restricted to 2 terms, and he or she has a vice. Now, assuming that vice becomes president and the vice selects him as vice running. So, for instance, assuming Mahmoud Bawumia selects Akufo Addo as vice, it means that there is a potential that Akufo Addo may act as president way beyond his 2 terms, because there are instances where the president may be out of the jurisdiction and would not be able to act, and consequently the vice president would act as president. Does this mean that after Akufo Addo's 2 terms, he will be given the opportunity to act as president?
Or say Mahama and Rawlings. I think that, I don't know, but I think that the acting as president should not be construed to mean a person occupying the position and office of president. Therefore, it should be allowed that when he comes in as vice president, he's not president. If on occasion he acts as president, he is not occupying the office of president, which is what the prohibition is looking at. Is that not so?
That's possible. That is also an interpretation, but we also have to look at the spirit of the Constitution. The Constitution generally ought to be interpreted in a broad, liberal manner. We all know the case of Tufo and Attorney General, where Justice Sowa made this point. Consequently, it would seem that if that is the case, then it is relatively difficult to say that we should restrict the meaning of that to the words only, and say that because he is acting as president, it is okay, because he is not occupying the office as president. Because take note, the rationale, we have to look at the rationale, the purpose for restricting the office or the person to 2 terms. The purpose is to prevent potential dictatorial tendencies by individuals.
Abuse of power.
And abuse of power. So imagine giving somebody who has had the luxury to serve as president for 2 terms, who has also had the opportunity to create so many contacts, so many connections, and have so much influence. You are now giving him the position to run as vice.
Yeah, because you like him. Because Kuffour, for instance, is very popular today.
Yes.
He wasn't popular in 2008, but he's very popular today. If Dr. Bawumia, who is looking for an Ashanti candidate, then says, okay, JA Kuffour, come be my running mate, it will not be encouraging an abuse of power. It will be bringing back something that people want.
But don't you think it is possible for that person to undermine the office of the president? You could easily whip up sentiments against the president if there is a fight. And we've seen it before with Akar and Rawlings.
But the same, I mean, as for undermining the president, any vice president can undermine the president. That should not be the reason why, in terms of a constitutional interpretation, we should suggest that it can happen or it cannot happen. So Kuffour can really become Bawumia's running mate. Yes. Looking at the prohibition in 68(2), it doesn't bar President Kuffour from becoming Dr. Bawumia's running mate.
Possibly.
Does it bar President Kuffour from becoming Speaker of Parliament?
I do not think so.
So you are thinking the path to Speaker of Parliament constitutionally is easier than being Vice President?
Relatively.
So Akufo Addo can be Speaker of Parliament?
Relatively.
So Bawumia can have Kuffour as his running mate. If he wins the election, and then appoints Akufo Addo, if the MPP have majority, as Speaker of Parliament.
Relatively.
All that is possible.
Possible.
It's very interesting, isn't it?
But you see, what are we also trying to say? If we look at either directly or indirectly, other than that of the states.
Yes, other than that of the state protects that.
Yeah.
It covers all of the vice president and speaker things.
Yes, but one may also interpret states to transcend political office. It's an interpretation where people see that, or where people believe that political offices, where state is provided, it represents Ghana as distinct from political offices. As distinct from political appointments.
No. Let's get back to government and political science. We run a monocephalous executive.
Yes.
So in the executive is contained state and politics. So state, the executive is in state. Yeah. Because we run a monocephalous executive. He is a politician and he's also state. So the Queen is state, she's not a politician.
Yes.
Prime Minister is politician. We have the Queen and the Prime Minister united in the President of the Republic of Ghana, who is also head of state.
Yes. But there is a school, and that's why I said it's a philosophical school. That says, for instance, something like Traj transcends. There are people who believe that the office of Traj or the commission of Traj transcends politics.
Yes, it should. We agree.
Electoral commission, even though the president
has a hand
does. In appointing, even judges.
Yes, but it does. It's in JH Mensa Attorney General. That is the reason why the term of office of ministers is coterminous with the president. But the term of office of the judge is not coterminous with the president. The judge's term of office is determined by the constitution. But as for a minister and board chairman and all of that, your role is coterminous with the president. Once the president is gone, you are gone. So that is taken care of.
If that is the case, that once the president goes, you go.
As a minister, but not as Traj. Not as a judge, not as a...
So possibly maybe the president may be trash, a former president may be trash, a former president may be trash boss, whatever.
Yeah, you can make that.
But once you put him in an office where the office is coterminous with the presidency, some may argue that it is political and does not connote the states. It connotes political office.
Okay, so you are trying to establish a distinction between political office, qua-political office, and the office of the state.
Yes.
And you do not agree that the president's office contains both?
The president's office contains both. It does not mean that in exercise or in manifestation of the power, it is the same thing. The president exercises his power as head of state as distinct as head of government.
Yes.
So for instance, when he's receiving new envoys or ambassadors, he's exercising the powers of the head of state, even though it is vested in one person. When he is determining policy, or he and the finance minister,
or the party rally
budgets, that's politics.
Okay, I get that. Okay, so you are saying that the word "state" here should be interpreted strictly to mean states as opposed to
political office,
or as opposed to political government.
Yes, and the office of the vice president is a political office.
Oh, I get the point you're making. So you're saying that yes, it's a state, but in the state here should be construed to exclude political, like office. Minister,
yes,
deputy minister,
yes,
vice president,
yes.
It should be. What about speaker? Is this state the political? Very complicated. The law, if it suggests that it is, that's one thing I like about American politics. I'll tell you, it's very direct, it's very open. there's no quote and unquote hypocrisy about American politics.
Yeah.
But the British system, there's a problem we're having.
Yeah,
so that on paper, the way Speaker is selected in the Constitution evinces no politics at all.
Yes.
But in reality,
it's
a very political situation. So on paper, Speaker will be state.
Mm-hmm. But
but it's a very political
lot of political
process.
Negotiations.
It's nominated by the president, as it were.
Yeah.
I mean, the law doesn't give the president any role. It doesn't give the president any role because the announcement of the speaker comes from the majority leader.
Yeah.
And then if there's another nomination, somebody will say it. And then, but in reality, it is the person who leads the party that has won the election. He chooses the speaker.
Yes.
So whilst he nominates his running mate, he's also, if his party wins, he determines who becomes speaker.
Exactly.
Even deputy speaker.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Which is one.
Okay, so I get your point. So you are saying that if Dr. Bawumia were to nominate President Kuffour, they'll have to cross this hurdle.
Yes.
If somebody goes to the court.
It's open. So this may be an argument I may proffer. Mm-hmm. An argument another person may proffer. No. States and governments, political office.
States should be read to mean what is in the Constitution as state. You are saying states should be restricted you are saying that to be able to sustain the spirit of this article,
exactly,
we have to explain the states in that way.
Yes.
Otherwise, the purpose is defeated.
Yes.
I get your point. I think it's a very clever point. No wonder you did well in constitutional law. I get the point. Constitutional law is very strong. Okay, so this is a case of Dr. Bawumia. So President Mahama doesn't have the opportunity because there's no JJ and there's no. But the scenario that Dr. Bawumia selects President Kuffour as his running mate, he can't do much because he's old, but he can still win.
Yeah.
And he may win Ashanti heavily.
Because Kuffour is largely popular.
Yes, still. Well, now,
popular.
It went down, it has come back.
Yes, Kuffour is largely popular. Yeah, even among, and a lot of people think Kuffour is largely popular among Ashantis.
Yes.
No, he's
across.
widely popular.
So that's a good choice for the running mate. 82-year-old John Kuffour. Should we do an article? Would it be Ghana suggest that 82-year-old John Kuffour to be running mate to Dr. Bawumia to secure the Ashanti 100%?
Well,
that would be very interesting. That would be very interesting. And then if Dr. Bawumia and Kuffour were to win, which I think they will, if they do that pair, I think they will. If they were to win, then they can appoint Akufo Addo as Speaker of Parliament.
This would
that would be serious. That would be serious. But constitutionally, it's possible.
It's